Brian Bourke's with us, Seko Logistics Chief Growth Officer. Brian, how do you grow in this situation?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And yes, growth has been a challenge. In March of 2020 of last year, when a lot of companies shut down, purchase orders were abandoned, bookings stopped, vessels stopped sailing, everything really came to almost a grinding halt. But since about June of 2020, we've seen an accelerated increase month after month after month of just a surge in demand for goods driven by e-commerce, but also this shift away from services towards goods. People couldn't travel, they couldn't go on vacation. All that disposable income that was going into services was now going into remodeling homes, buying new sports equipment, new toys, whatever it may be. And that surge in demand, by the way, still has not stopped. The inventory to sales ratio continues to go down. All those goods need to be stored, they need to be shipped. And so growth from that perspective is just following the demand for e-commerce goods and the need to transport them both in the U.S. and all around the world.
So with regards to that transport situation, Brian, we've talked a lot about the shortage of truckers. We've talked about some of the limitations with regards to railroads. And of course, we've talked about some of the limitations with regards to warehouse capacity here. How do you manage that there for you yourself and for your clients, particularly when you're not really sure whether this is going to be lasting?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's like, church. You don't build a church for Easter and Christmas, right? You build a church for kind of the average attendee across every Sunday or whatever the place of worship may be. So right now what we're doing is we're operating in peak season, and we've been operating in effect in peak season for the past 12 plus months. The global supply chain, the infrastructure that supports that, was not built for sustained peak season. It's like if you're going down the highway and you're going 120 miles an hour with your foot on the pedal to the floor consistently for hours on end. Eventually, the engine's going to give or something's going to give.
Brian, when you're putting your head down on your pillow at night, what are you hoping for? What are you wishing for? What one thing can make things easier for you?
Well, certainly not 24/7 operations in the Port of LA Long Beach. That's not going to solve the issue or problem. It's just a drop in the bucket, really. And ultimately, the press conference last week from the administration did seem like a good step, but a small first step to get the importers involved. Because you can keep the ports open, but if there's no trucks coming to pick up or no warehouses that are open at 3 a.m., it's kind of a moot point. What I am more encouraged by is what Governor Newsom, I think, has recently announced to create actual arteries or streets dedicated just to trucks. And also issuing an executive order to find space for empty containers. Because if we can clear out the backlog and find space for a lot of these things that don't exist currently, I think that would help tremendously, at least to start to alleviate a little bit more pressure that we see.
So Brian, at Seko, I mean, you have a pretty good vantage point for the entire supply chain. How integrated is it amongst these various points, whether it's the warehouses, the truckers, the rail yards, the ports themselves? How much communication is going on between all of those different channels?
Absolutely. Everything is linked. I mean, for example, when the Ever Given got stuck in the Suez Canal, we knew that that was going to impact available berths and ships coming to the East Coast of the United States in 3 or 4 weeks, and it was going to have an impact even in LA 2 or 3 months later. The reason why is because as long as that ship with 20,000 containers on it is stuck, that means 20,000 more empty containers that aren't available in about a month or two in the future. Everything is impacted with 70 ships at anchor on San Pedro Bay, right off the coast of where you are right now. All those ships that are stuck there, that means that's less available space in the future. So it's like a downward spiral because you're absolutely right. Everything is connected. That's why they call it the supply chain. And once you have weak links, and right now we have a lot of weak links all around, there's a lot of breakdowns. And that's what we're witnessing, not just in the Port of LA Long Beach, by the way, from Savannah to Shanghai to Singapore. This issue is truly global.